Guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, EP Double Parks Tries to Vandalize My Motorcycle, then calls the cops. I've been reading stories on here for a while, but this is my first time posting on here. I think what happened to me is pretty damn funny and interesting, but I never know what other people will think. Came across my own Karen a couple weeks ago, but for the sake of the story I'm going to call her AA for Audi Annie. I love alliterative names like Corner Store Karen or Permit Patty. Cop equals annoyed, but ultimately cool cop. Me equals a hipster dinosaur. To give you a quick bit of backstory, while I own a car, I prefer my motorcycle. It uses less gas, and frankly it's just more fun to ride, in my opinion. I'm also a 30-something guy who frankly looks like a stereotypical hipster, although amusingly the same parts of me that make me look like a hipster, long hair, long beard, glasses, make me look like a motorcycle hoodlum, I guess if I'm in gear. Although I'm fairly doe-eyed, so if I'm not wearing a helmet/shades, most people say I don't look intimidating at all. Anyway, I am heading to the store just to pick up a couple of things, and while it isn't really busy in the parking lot, the front half of the lot is pretty packed. I actually don't like to park my bike too far away from the front, cause people can sometimes be a-holes and mess with your stuff if they think they are not going to be seen. I actually caught some stranger sitting on my bike before and it freaked me out. I was about to relent to parking 12 to 13 spaces back when I noticed a silver Audi double parked near the front, maybe 2 to 3 spaces back. It wasn't perfectly centered, the passenger side was actually just a foot past the line, just enough where someone couldn't park next to her, but maybe people would just think it was a sh*TTY parking job instead of it being a shitty person. While the space wasn't enough for a car, it was perfect for a bike, so I pulled in next to the Audi. Actually pleased I found a space so close to the store. I had barely turned off the engine and taken off my helmet when you know who appears. A woman in her late 20s or early 30s with a sour look and a "can I speak to your supervisor" haircut. I know, everyone says this and I usually roll my eyes when people say this in their posts. But meeting someone like that in person now, it really does perfectly describe her. "What the duck do you think you're doing? You can't park there," AA says quite loud and very angry. I turn to look at her, still wearing my sunglasses with my helmet in my hands. "Excuse me. You can't park your bike in those spaces, you're blocking my car, and they aren't meant for you." Now, I was taken aback by this woman yelling at me. My bike was completely within the space, and while it was sort of blocking the passenger side, I've seen people get into their car with other cars parked much closer. Plus, it wasn't like this person was a whale. "I'm going to shop here, I'm allowed to park here." "No, you're not," AA shrilled, "and you're blocking my car." "Lady, you're the one who parked over the line, and I'm not even parked that close to you. If you're leaving, just leave and shut the duck up. You don't talk to me like that, you ducking a hole," AA actually screamed, getting a wild look in her eyes. "I can't get into my car because of you and your shitty bike. Get the duck out of here before I call the cops." I rolled my eyes, although she couldn't see me behind the glasses. Maybe if she had asked nicely if I could move out so she could get into her car, I would have, even if there was clearly enough space for her. But frankly, I was in no mood to accommodate this crazy witch. "Duck you," I told her. I guess that was the wrong thing to say, as I swear I could actually see steam coming out of her ears. AA actually stomps over, I thought to get into her car, but was I wrong, and grabs onto my bike and tries to knock it over. Now, the bike was secure, and it's not actually as easy to knock it over as it seems, but she was literally trying to throw my bike to the ground. I curse at her, "What the duck do you think you're doing?" and grab her by the wrists and promptly shove her off my bike. Then she screeched, think that scene in X-Men 2 when the mercs break into the mansion, and that one mutant girl has the screaming superpower, and actually screamed for help, that I had assaulted her. Now there were people around, not many but a few. But when AA screamed for help, someone actually did call the police and started asking AA if she was okay, and suddenly she was all grinning at me. I remember the guy who called the cops actually looked super uncomfortable and said he had to go. It took 10 minutes for a cop to show up, and I remember the woman was standing behind my bike now in the parking space to keep me from leaving, her face red but smiling at me, telling that I was in for it now. how I would go to prison for attacking her, and how she hoped I got raped every day because that's what people like me deserve. Yes, she actually said that. I was a little worried, but I hadn't actually done anything other than remove her hands from my property, so I tried to remain calm, and then the cop arrived. A man probably in his late 30s, and the expression on his face actually made me concerned. Have you ever heard the phrase, "It looks like someone took a crap in your oatmeal"? Well, this guy looked like someone just two massive turds in his cream of wheat right before having to come and deal with us. Before the cop could even introduce himself, AA ran up and started speaking a mile a minute. She seriously had diarrhea of the mouth as crap spouted from that hole she called a mouth. She told the cop how I was some biker in a gang, that I was parked illegally, and when she politely told me to move, I threatened to beat and rape her, and then punched her in the face. Mind you, my bike was perfectly, legally parked, and she didn't have a single mark on her face from where I supposedly punched her. The cop looks unconvinced by her story and turns to me, asking for my side. I tell him what really happened. I parked. She demanded I move and then tried to push over my bike. The entire time AA screaming that I was a liar and trying to interject her own bullcrap timeline into my story. Finally, the cop looked at AA. "Ma'am, if you really want to claim he hit you, I'm sure the store has cameras. I would be happy to check, but as for parking, your card is the one who is illegally parked." AA's got that crazed look again when she realized the cop wasn't going to just immediately believe her story and cart me off to jail. "You cucking moron. He's not allowed to be parked here." Amazingly, she suddenly stopped talking about how I hit her. The cop didn't look pleased to be insulted. "In fact, I'm going to issue you a ticket because you decided you could scream in my face and call me a moron," the cop said. And that's when AA lost it. She, with all her force, smacked the cop partly in the shoulder and face. She actually missed, so it was doubtful she could have really hit him, but still. The effect was immediate. It was like in those nature documentaries when you see a snake just suddenly strike. The cop grabs her, and within seconds, he has her face first over the back of her own Audi, and AA is once again screeching as she gets handcuffed. This entire time I am just standing there mouth agape and try not to do anything to become the target of this officer's wrath. He tells her she is being arrested for assault of an officer, and something about after she has calmed down if there was anyone who could come to pick up her Audi. Otherwise it would be towed at her expense. The entire time AA is screaming that this is a travesty of justice, how the cop wasn't allowed to do this to her, and something that really made me sense, how more N-words should be shooting up these crooked cops. Eventually she is shoved into the back of the cop's cruiser as she continues to kick her feet and scream, and then eventually starts sobbing. It's a sight to behold. The cop asked me if I wanted to press any charges, and I was honest and said for what. Really, all she was doing was being a witch, and frankly, I think she had managed to get herself into enough trouble as it was. The cop said they might try her for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest, depending on if she calms down. He also said if she does have someone to pick up her car, he would make sure a police officer was nearby, just in case she had any friends who might try and take it out on my bike, although I told him I was probably only be about 15 minutes in the store. Car was still there when I left, so no closure on what happened to her precious Audi. And that's my story. I don't know what happened to Audi Annie, but I never did see her again, although I still of course see the occasional silver Audi here and there. Sorry that I don't actually know what happened to her. If she's lucky, she'll just get a couple tickets, unless she decided to continue being an entitled witch. Next one is titled, "I don't care if you're a cripple, come pack my bags now." Backstory: I am a full-time wheelchair user and at the time worked in a big supermarket chain on the tills. The majority of my customers did not know I was a wheelchair user as my chair wasn't visible while I served them. I got customers asking me to help them pack at the end of the till, and most times when I explain I am a wheelchair user so can't stand that long, they understood. Plus I could call one of my colleagues for assistance. Well, not this woman. Let's call her K for Karen. Me as yours truly and as his supervisor. Onto the story. It's a pretty busy day and I have 3 people in my queue at the time. Other colleagues had upwards of 5+ people on their tills, but I was the fastest on tills. Kay enters my queue with a very large trolley full to the brim with shopping. Before her is an elderly woman in a mobility scooter. I serve the woman in front of her, but first, say hi. Won't keep you waiting long to Karen. She just hops and wraps her fingers on the conveyor belt. I serve the elderly woman, packing her one bag as I go and hobbling around to put it in her basket, as she couldn't stand and I didn't want to call a colleague over one bag. She leaves and says thank you. Then it's Karen's turn, and the conversation went like this. Me? Hey, how are you today? Did you find everything you were looking for? K. Yes, thank you. Listen, I'm in a hurry. Could you pack my bags for me? Me? I'm sorry, unfortunately, I can't stand up for long periods of time, so although I can help you as we go, I can't pack the whole trolley. I'm happy to call a colleague over to help you. K. You're just a lazy teenager like the rest of them. I was 23. I haven't got time to wait for your colleague. Me. I sincerely apologize, ma'am, but I'm a wheelchair user, so I can't stand up for long periods or walk very well to load up your trolley. K. Raising her voice. Liar. I saw you pack that lady's bags and load her up. She looks at me as if she has caught me out. K. Besides, I don't see a wheelchair. Me. I did pack that lady's bag. However, she only had one to pack and couldn't do it for herself. My wheelchair is there, points to chair. As I said, I'm happy to arrange for a colleague to help you. K. I want to see your supervisor. This is terrible customer service. I call over my supervisor. Since my till is right next to her podium, to keep an eye on me, she has heard most of this encounter. K. In a sickly sweet voice. Hi, lovely to meet you. I'm so sorry to bother you. Unfortunately, your colleague here is giving me terrible customer service. I think you need to have a word with her. S. That doesn't sound like her. What exactly is the issue? K. She refuses to pack my bags, even though she did it for the last customer. S. Unfortunately, she can't do the packing. However, I'm not busy and happy to help. Karen suddenly realizes I was telling the truth. She looks at me and her face turns to a look of disgust. K. I would like to be served by someone else then. I'm not having some cripple touching my shopping. This is disgusting. People like that shouldn't be in public. S. With a very angry tone. How dare you? You will apologize to my colleague right now, or you will be barred from this store. K. I want to see your manager now. S. Gladly. They walk off, so I didn't hear the rest of the conversation. However, my manager loved me, so the woman was made to leave her full trolley of shopping and was barred from the store until she apologized for her comments. And what do you know? Never saw her again. Last one is titled, Her parents did all her homework and they weren't home that week. I go to a hoity-toity military academy that houses a ton of rich kids. Boarding tuition is $30,000. Both my parents are teachers, and I got it because of a scholarship, so I go for free. Now, a lot of the kids there are totally cool, if not a bit ignorant to the working class, but there are some special students there. There is a girl who I had the unfortunate pleasure of working with in a group project. I spent a few hours the day before our first group meeting working on some research, and when we met in the library after class, she was the only person who didn't have any work. Naturally, we asked her where her work was, and her response was, "My mom and dad are taking a week vacation. When they get back, they will be able to do it." I kind of laughed because I didn't think people like her existed. I thought it was something that just happened on TV shows, but no, she was dead serious. We tried to convince her to get something done in case her parents couldn't do it, and we finally broke her to do a little bit. We ended up getting a D because her mom doesn't know how to format a graph on Excel, so we didn't have a whole entire graph, and she blamed me. She came to the conclusion that because I got here on a scholarship and had a disability that I was somehow dumb and the school pitied me or some nonsense. I pointed out that her graph wasn't there, and she said, "My mom would know how to do it, it's your fault." She was totally clueless. I can go on and on about her. Thanks for listening.